Today's show was recorded live at the Refinery, Charleston's hub for creative industry. Go to therefinerychs.com to get event, venue, and contact information. Now on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Shrimp City Report. My name's Devin. I'm joined today with my co-host and son, DJ. How are you doing?
Doing good.
What's going on this week?
The weather's been a little hot.
Yeah, and there's other stuff moving on the horizon. Who can
I complain about that too?
Yeah, or see what's coming down, because maybe we have a guest that's has a little familiarity with Charleston weather.
Yeah, we are in today with Bill Walsh himself. Yeah.
Hey guys.
Meteorologist and, dare I say, Lowcountry ambassador Bill Walsh.
I got to say the socks are on point today.
Oh, you like the socks?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got my radar socks on. It's
cool.
Kind of a trademark thing, I guess. Somebody sent me these years ago.
Yeah.
And so I just started wearing them. And then, I literally have like 5 or 6 pairs of radar socks.
Right on.
It's just to make sure that, when I go out and do something, somebody always say, where are the socks? It's crazy. But you guys are great. This is a great podcast. This is fantastic. You guys do an awesome job. And I see the city papers got you all hooked up as the best of and all that other stuff. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Speaking to your socks, I do follow you on Facebook and see your sock post often.
Yeah.
So that is a beloved thing about Bill around here. He's unabashed and ready to share of himself. So luckily he came by today and is going to share a little bit about us. So I guess we can start with your background.
Yeah.
Where you came from.
I left the station about a half hour. I grew up in Providence, Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Former home of the Paw Sox, but now they're the Woo Sox up in Worcester, but that's okay. But I grew up in Rhode Island, the smallest state in the whole country. Charleston County is bigger than the entire state of Rhode Island.
Oh, wow.
That's how small Rhode Island. You can go from one end to the other in 45 minutes, and that's the long way. So it's a very small, they carpeted the whole state a couple of years ago. I mean, it is just amazing. But it's called the Ocean State. I grew up in Rhode Island, and I went to college in Boston. You've heard of Harvard University?
Yeah,
I went to school across the river from Harvard. They wouldn't let me near Harvard, but that's okay. I went to Emerson College in Boston.
Okay.
And Linden State up in Vermont. And I grew up in the Northeast in Boston. I moved down here in 1986 for a job at Channel 4, actually. I was there for 6 years, but I was like 24 years old or whatever. And it was pretty cool. I mean, I was looking for I was doing weekends in Providence at the time, the CBS station. And it was part-time. And I was offered a full-time job to come down to Channel 4 here, and I moved down in 86, and I was there till 93, and then moved to Channel 5 in 93. So I've been there ever since. Yeah.
So have you always been like a weather buff, or when did that?
I have, DJ. And it's funny. When I grew up, we were in the snow belt up there, right?
Yeah.
So we had this blizzard in 1978. I'm dating myself now. So I'm 1978, this massive blizzard. We had 52 inches of snow.
Holy smokes.
They called it the Blizzard of 78. People were caught on the highways. The cars couldn't move. It was a mess. And I was in high school, and I was watching. When I grew up, watching the local TV stations up there. And I'm like, oh, look, there's, John Giorgi, and there's, Harvey Leonard, these big names up in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And they forecast this giant storm. And I was like, that is amazing. And I was fascinated by weather, always have been.
Yeah.
And when I was about 16, I got my pilot's license. I actually got my pilot's license before I got my driver's license, which was really kind of crazy. But I had to learn a lot about weather at that point. And I was just kind of hooked on the forecasting. And I watched this one guy for years. He was the guy who I grew up watching. He was like Charlie Hall of Charleston, So, I mean, and I said, I'd really like to do that. And when I was a little younger, I took the city bus. They call it RIPTA, Rhode Island Public Transit Authority, from Pawtucket to Providence. I must have been, 15, maybe 16. No, it was before I flew. So anyway, I take the bus. I go to the outlet company, which is a department store, where I know Channel 10 is, WJAR-TV. So I get in this thing. I get in the elevator. I go up to the top because the TV station was the top floor of this outlet building, they called it. And I said, I just want to see what that looks like. I was just curious. Now, that was before the days of, security and everything. You walk off the elevator and there's the TV station.
Yeah, yeah.
And I found my way to the studio and I ended up talking to the meteorologist there, John.
Right.
And lo and behold, I was just hooked up after that and ended up. Funny thing is, I ended up my first real TV job. I was on cable news for a little bit in New England, and then I got the job at the CBS station, and the chief was John Giorgi, the same guy that I went and visited when I was.
Oh wow,
yeah,
that's interesting.
Isn't that funny? So I ended up working for him.
Yeah, that's pretty fascinating. So when you made the jump to Charleston, what was the process like? Were you sending tapes around the country,
at the time?
Did they? Okay, that's what you would do.
Yeah, you'd send out a resume tape. You'd send out a resume. There were also headhunters. I think I was on a headhunter reel.
Okay.
It was, like there were companies like Magid, which is a television consulting company, Talent Dynamics, stuff like that. So you'd send your stuff to them. They'd put you on their reel, and they send the reels off to the news directors. And I had just interviewed for a job in Palm Beach, Florida, and I did not get the job. In fact, I flew down there, talked to them, but the guy said I looked too young. And I did. I looked like I was 12 years old. And he said, I liked you. I think you did a great job, but I'm not sure that you are old enough to talk about hurricanes to an older demographic down here.
Right.
So anyway, I got back from that trip, and there was a blinking light on my answering machine, my Panasonic answering machine. And it was Celia Shaw from WCIV in Charleston. And in her wonderful accent, said, Bill, love to have you come down and talk to us about this job in Charleston. And so I looked at it in Charleston, South Carolina. I said, never been there. And I said, wow, look at like it. So I was really wanting to go someplace warm with no snow.
Yeah.
And anyway, but I was young. So I flew down and talked to them, and they took me to lunch at Wild Dunes. At the time, it was called Trade Winds. It was over there by Morgan Creek, by the Wild Dunes Marina and Isle of Palms Marina now. Anyway, so I saw dolphins. Swimming, and and there were palm trees because I grew up in New England.
Right.
Florida is like Mecca, and you have to, visit at least once a year. And I was fascinated by palm trees, and I said, this is like Florida, but without the traffic. Now we have the traffic.
Yeah.
But anyway, so long story short, I moved. I got hired by CIV, and I came down. And I had an absolute blast. Worked there for 6 years. I was 2 years, 6, 7, 8, 2.5 years or so, almost 3 years into my job there, and along comes Hurricane Hugo.
Oh yeah,
massive, defining hurricane. And I was like, wow, so. And anyway, bottom line is that's how I ended up moving down here. I was on a headhunter reel, and they called me, and I was looking for a Monday through Friday job.
Yeah, I remember. I'm a native. I remember when you came, and yes, you did look young. You also had another signature look, I believe, something significant. Were you wearing bow ties then? Or?
Oh, no. You know what I was? It was a flower.
Okay, that's
there
it.
Was like a boutonniere?
Yeah.
So this one of I forget the name of the flower company over in Mount Pleasant would send us boutonnieres. Would send it to me
right.
in particular. So I wore it. One day I wore it another day, and then I was like, I didn't wear it. And then somebody's, sending me, they would call it that time. It was not email.
Yeah.
And they would say, how come he's not wearing the boot?
Yeah, it's odd.
Where's the boutonniere? And so literally, they would send one every day. So I would wear this thing every day. It just became a little trademark.
There you go. That's, and it's interesting how you remember that after 30-something years.
Right.
That there's distinctions about the weatherman.
Right.
And to your thing, you're talking about in Rhode Island going to see this person in media and following media, and they were in our TVs every night and stuff, and you really started identifying with them and all that.
Yeah.
So they become like family. So, because you're with them, you see, you trust them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
So you land in Charleston, get the gig. It's been since 1993, you said?
Well, it was 86 when I moved
86?
here. Yeah.
So you've been here longer than I have been born. What kept you in Charleston? What made you, I guess, drawn and stay here?
It's funny, DJ. The funny part is this month, and really early September, I moved here from Rhode Island, and next year it'll be 40 years. Because it'll be 26, 40 years. So, but what made me stay? Good question. I mean, so I worked at CIV for 6 years. I had a great time. My contract was up, and Charlie Hall was the big weatherman forever in Charleston. He was the legend. And they called me up, and it was in the paper, something that my contract was up, and I was actually I thought about leaving. I looked at, there was a station in Houston wanted me to come, and I said, I was just going to probably stay at 4, but then they called me up from Channel 5 and said, hey, look, we're looking for somebody we want to add a meteorologist. We want you to build a storm center. We want you to be our, one of our weather team, because we had Mike Hyatt, we had Keith Nichols and Pam Wright. I'm thinking, what do they want with me? But it was really they're foreseeing that, they wanted somebody to work with Charlie, because they want to be, at that time, there was 2 shows, 6 and 11. It's actually 6:30 on CSC. And so I said, so I came over, talked to them, and when you in television, there are ratings, and Channel 5 was always the big dog in town. It was the legendary station. 2 and 4, fantastic stations, but Channel 5 was always and Charlie was the guy. And so the opportunity to go over to work with Charlie and to really build a weather department there, they just had Charlie and one computer and the other weather folks.
Well, so y'all really were from the ground up then. Yeah,
I mean, it was just amazing that I got to build a storm center, work with Charlie. I became his, I really, I was, when they added the 5 o'clock show, I did the 5, he did the 6, and then I did the 11. And we had, there were some retirements and whatnot. And so, I mean, the opportunity when it came up was like, why not? I mean, this is to work with the legend Charlie Hall.
Yeah,
I mean, it was fantastic, and he was such a great guy, and I was just thrilled to and really I did the forecasting. I made his graphics. And Charlie would sit there and tell me World War II stories.
Oh, really?
When he'd eat those little cheese crackers, and I'd be sitting there making his graphics and saying, "Okay, here's the forecast, and here's what we're doing." He was just such a cool guy and a nice guy, and Mike was fantastic, and Keith Nichols, who passed away, he was awesome. It was a good team over there, and I love CIV. Don't get me wrong, but at the time, the opportunity came up, and it was a good move for me. So I went over there, worked with Charlie, and I became his guy there for a while, and then of course he passed away, unfortunately, kind of to a surprise to a lot of folks. About 4 or 5 years after that. So,
right.
Yeah, but so that's kind of how and the reason I stayed, was because I obviously moved to 5, and there was other opportunity there, yes, but I just fell in love with Charleston. I mean, this city. I mean,
it's hard not to.
It's hard not to, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
for how long you've been here, to you just seeing it explode.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
It is amazing. I mean, I fell in love with a small, beautiful southern city, and now it's a big southern, beautiful city, with big city traffic and everything.
Yeah, it's interesting. I tell a lot of folks, they're like, hadn't Charleston changed since, since you were in high school or elementary school? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's grown, but it's grown out. It hasn't so much grown.
Right.
So when you when you drive at 26 and you're about to hit Northbridge or whatever,
right,
it doesn't look drastically different.
No,
because but if you fly over it, you're like, holy smokes, the sprawl is incredible.
Oh, the building and the housing and the market itself has just exploded with people and businesses and things like that.
Right, and back in the day, if you were going to drive out to Snee Farm, you might as well have been telling someone you're driving to Georgetown.
Oh, right. I mean, when I moved to when I was at 4, and I lived off of Rifle Range Road. Well, my first apartment was what was Harbor Point, now it's called the Cooper or something. Cooper. It was just right behind Channel 2 on the other side of the bridge. I would get Channel 2 in my teeth. I mean, it was right under the tower, right? So anyway, so I was over there, and I bought a house off Rifle Range, and they had not built the Isle of Palms connector, right? This is, and they were getting ready to start building that.
Yeah.
And, and they fought about it for a long time, whether they wanted the connector or not with the Isle of Palms and stuff like that. After the hurricane came along and shut off the only main road getting around there, which was the Ben Sawyer Bridge, quickly they said, we need to do this new bridge. So they did it, and it was, but the building and the values and everything, that the sprawling, the Lowcountry has just exploded. Yeah. I could go to the beach in like 5 minutes from my house, just, once the connector was built, and I could go where I live now, down in southern Charleston County, down around Hollywood, right? So I used to go, Janet would go to work at Weasel, WEZL.
Oh, yeah.
It was 20 miles from our house, and it would take, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. Now, if I go, I still get my hair cut at the same guy, by the way, in Mount Pleasant. Donnie Causey, I still go there. I've been going there since 1986. And so,
Shout out for Donnie.
Shout out for Donnie. Yeah. So I would go from my house. It takes sometimes an hour and 20 minutes to get to Mount Pleasant, just because of traffic.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it very much.
So that's the growth.
Yeah, I mean, there's been growth there, but even like the amount of tourism that's been going to Charleston, I would argue that if not it's definitely one of the most weather dependent cities on the East Coast, right?
Oh, for what, as far as how tourism go? Yeah. Does the weather?
The amount of bachelor parties I've come in and the weather switches on a dime or something like that.
And they'll have to run inside or something?
Yeah.
I get all kinds of, I get so, I get a lot of, hey, I'm getting married in May.
Yeah.
It's August. And hey, do you think it's going to rain? I'm having a wedding on the beach at 4 p.m. in the afternoon in the summer. Well, there's a good chance there's going to be a thunderstorm. But I get a lot of bachelor's parties, a lot of bachelorette parties. I get a lot of people calling, vacationers. They'll email me. I had a guy this morning who has a place on Kiowa. Hey, I'm thinking of coming down. What about Hurricane Aaron?
Yeah.
And, and it's like, and I love responding to that. I do that all the time. And I'm always telling people, hey, it's going to be great, or hey, it's going to be cold, or, whatever the weather. But we are so weather conscious because of our tourism, right? Because of all the people that come to town. This is a huge tourism draw. So whether it's hot in the summer or cold in the winter, we had the snow event. I mean, who'd have thought we'd have 5 inches of snow in Charleston? But we did.
Yeah. So that's what, I was going to ask about that, because Aaron is barely off the Azores now or whatever. And doing long range forecast and everything. So,
well, it looks like that one's going to turn at this point.
Okay, good.
At this time, depends on when you're listening to this podcast. So we'll see. But it is. The current forecast is for it to turn. Mostly Ensemble Suite has the storm kind of moving to the north. There's quite a bit of room for it to turn out there with this trough that's coming across the East Coast. That'll weaken the ridge to the north and give it an escape route. But it just depends on how close it gets to us. We're probably not going to see much impact except for maybe some rip currents.
How do you like the pressure of everybody pretty much setting their clock to what you say?
Yeah, I was going to ask. Is it a very supportive community?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, they are the people of that's. And then you asked me a while ago, why did I move to a bigger market or go to New York or go back to Boston or whatever? I love the people here, and they are fabulous. And I visit schools. I do all kinds of stuff, and they're great people. People live here, and the people that moved here. It's a good community, And so yes, they are they're thankful for what we do, and but also I'm always glad to meet people and take pictures and stuff like that. But to answer the question, they reach out all the time,
Excellent. I'm glad that there's that kind of conversation going on. Hey, everyone. We really want to encourage you to visit the Refinery in Charleston, South Carolina. The Refinery is a beautiful mixed-use facility that's home to upscale office space, 2 restaurants, the Limbo Lounge, and an amphitheater that hosts national, regional, and local acts year-round. We cannot recommend it enough. Go to therefinerychs.com to get event and venue information. You can also go to the site to learn how you can even book the spaces you want for your own event. So go check them out, and thanks. So you said you started flying early.
Yep.
Didn't you have some military service, I believe?
I did.
Let's elaborate on that a little bit.
I just retired not long ago from the Air Force Reserve.
Okay.
I was with the Navy for 9 years, and then I switched to the Air Force Reserve, and I finished with 23 years of service. And I was a weather officer in the Navy and a public affairs officer and a dual designator. And it was a lot of fun. I was on the John F. Kennedy aircraft carrier, and I was also on the George Washington aircraft carrier. And I got to do some very cool things with the Navy Reserve. And I did that from 93 for 9 years up until 2000, right after 9/11, actually. I had put in a package to transfer to the Air Force Reserve for a couple of reasons. One, Jerry Black out there said, hey, I have an opening coming up I know you're in the Navy, but we'd love to have you in the Air Force Reserve, and you can do a lateral move. You can change services. So I looked at it, and I was traveling a lot for the Navy, to go to where the ship was, right? So I'd have to fly out to wherever the ship was or wherever my duty was. Yeah. And this was an opportunity to work with the C-17 program right here in Charleston. So I said, that looks like it'd be a great fit. So I put in a transfer. It literally went in the week before 9/11 happened. I thought I'd get stop lost, with the Navy, where they said, no, we're not letting anybody move or transfer. But the transfer was kind of already in motion. Yeah. So anyway, the slot was designated, so I was able to transfer. So lo and behold, I transferred from the Navy to the Air Force Reserve, and I worked for the 315th Airlift Wing out here at the C-17 base up until 2013. I think, and then I transferred to U.S. Special Operations Command, which is you hear the Special Ops. I was with SOCOM. We call it SOCOM. U.S. SOCOM, based at MacDill Air Force Base. Now, of course, I lived here, but I was part of the paracommandos, the elite paracommandos team from Special Operations Command. So I would go wherever the team was and work with them as a DZSO, weather officer, and public affairs and stuff like that. So I worked with Special Operations for 4 years, and then I retired out of Special Operations Command. So it was a pretty interesting. A lot of people didn't know I did that. And
so you really have traveled just everywhere on the East Coast. Then.
Oh, I've been all. Let me tell you,
more than that. Yeah.
I've been in plenty of places. I've been to. I've been in Iraq. I've been Afghanistan. I've been in Turkey and Israel and all over the place. With the military, particularly. And that was Vietnam. We went to it. We did a mission out in Vietnam, not during the war, but it was So you get to see some very cool places, and you get to do some very interesting things. Yeah, and it was very exciting. And I would just disappear for like 2 or 3 weeks, or a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and the station was fabulous with that. By law, they have to let you go, obviously, because you're with the military. But they were really, really good in being very flexible with that. So, some folks would say, "Oh, I haven't seen you in a week or a week and a half." "Oh, where you been?" Well, I've been down in South America. Or sometimes I couldn't even say where I was, but I was down in Honduras, doing some stuff.
Wow,
some stuff. So,
and you got to do it at the same time that you were working. The one thing I can say in retrospect, listening to all this, is I don't think you challenged yourself enough. Good Lord, I can't.
It was a balance. It was, having two hats.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's two big hats.
And again, we mentioned it earlier. Even for meteorology, he has chosen one of the most difficult places to be with. I mean. Does the weather ever get boring in Charleston?
No, because it changes every 5 minutes.
Okay,
right? I mean, it really does. It is just it just changes all the time, and it's quick to change, and it's challenging. We have a little winter weather once in a while. We have the tropical weather. We've got daily, thunderstorms. So, I mean, it is not boring. That's for sure, because it changes all the time.
Yeah.
So with meteorology, do you get that fascination, ever that need to chase hurricanes? Or
absolutely.
Because I know you, like you said, you highlighted Hugo, but the other ones like Katrina and all that stuff, I'm sure it's fascinating.
Oh, it's fascinating. You kidding? Oh my gosh, yeah. I've chased many hurricanes. Especially when Charlie was here, I was able to leave, to go out and do these live shots and stuff like that with the storm chasing and stuff like that. I went and chased tornadoes across the Midwest. We went from we started in Kansas City, went all the way up to Nebraska for a whole week chasing tornadoes.
Wow.
Hurricane wise, I got to fly in a hurricane it was Hurricane Andrew, actually, which was a major hurricane.
That was major.
That hit South Florida. And we got to fly in Andrew with the hurricane hunters. And and then I covered many hurricanes, live, during the storm.
Right.
And then when Charlie passed away and I took over the department, so my traveling as far as going to the storm, I'd have to be here to forecast the storm. In other words, I can't be out, in Florida when the storm might be coming here. So, but I did a lot of that. I really enjoyed the excitement of that.
What was scarier? Flying through a hurricane or having boots on the ground in a hurricane?
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
I mean, an airplane you can move.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I guess you're
that's
right.
a good point.
But but you're flying when you fly in a hurricane. You're flying in at 10,000 feet in a WC-130.
That's what I thought.
Right.
10,000 feet.
Yeah, that's the penetration altitude typically, and it's it's a ride. In particular, as you get closer to the eye wall, and then boom, you break out and you're into the eye of the storm. And we were at night, the one I flew into, so we saw the moon. We saw the moonlight at night.
That's pretty cool.
I got pictures of the moon and the stadium effect. It was just ridiculous. But when you're boots on the ground, you got to be cognizant of where you are. You got to be safe. One of my really good friends, I don't want to drop names, but one of my really good friends from college, and we're good pals, is Jim Cantori.
Oh, really?
So he and I are really good friends. And he, by the way, loves Charleston. He's here for every wine of food. He and I, he loves this area. But anyway, so what he does is, and I don't do anything as much as he's in all these storms. So you got to be cognizant of where you are in retrospect for safety, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be in the storm surge area. You don't want to be, I've seen him do live shots in a garage and the water's coming up from the bottom, So you got to be very, careful. So boots on the ground, when you are in a storm situation, you've got to be cognizant of your escape route, where the storm is, your supplies,
right,
your communications, everything that goes with that. And we got 1 million people now chase storms. It's like, Reed Timmer and all these guys, they're all these storm chasers and storm trackers. So they're all out there doing that. But you got to be careful.
What do you think's like the feelings behind what makes people like drawn towards hurricanes? Is it just like the destructive force, or?
I think the power of it,
Okay.
and just being in 130 mile an hour wind or 100 mile an hour wind. If you've never been in that, it is crazy, fascinating, scary.
It's also kind of like an experience that, like, going through that experience together as a city, is something that everyone can kind of bond over.
Absolutely. And during Hurricane Hugo, people did bond. I mean, it was a year at least until things got sort of back to normal. I mean, it was a mess, and it was a bonding experience. And in the media, for us, me and Rob Fowler and Dave Williams, Dave wasn't here during Hurricane Hugo, but me and Rob were, and we're really good friends. And you bond with the other people that do this, right? With the EOC, with the emergency folks, right? It's a very and the law enforcement and all of the fire, all of the official people that work these storms, and it is a bonding experience. And with the people, because you are out there, the face of the TV station, talking about a storm that's going to affect us. So you do have this bond with people, and that's important. And Charleston is very much, like I said, the people here are fabulous, and you become like family. Right. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
There is a lot of trust and comfort in that. To DJ's point, a hurricane, you have plenty of time to anticipate and have anxiety. A flash flood is a flash flood. A tornado, you can't. But a hurricane, you probably have 2-3 days to really get wound up.
Yeah.
You do. You really do. And with the forecasting technique, the forecasting that we have now, back then in Hugo time, you only had 3-day forecasting. Remember the cone?
Yep.
It only went out 3 days, and it was very, very, wasn't as accurate as it is today with the modeling that we have. So now, I mean, you do. Like right now, we're looking at a storm out there. It's going to be a Cat 3, but we know that the storm will probably turn. Now, if that storm were pointed towards, say, South Florida, and maybe, Central Florida by 4 or 5 days, I would be much more concerned because it's showing more of a westward trend, and we would be playing it up. You'd see a lot more, the pucker factor gets going, right? It is, you start really, like you talk about Facebook page, right? So there's times where I put my dog Ruby on there, or I'll put on the socks or some fun thing, or when I see people, I'll put our picture on there. We'll be on there, right? So, but when the storm is starting to look serious, all that stops, and it's just all important weather.
I was going to ask, or does that mean like Ruby and your socks are like the green flag at this point?
Ruby and the socks.
All right, weather's good.
And the Coburg cow. So exactly. Yeah, the Coburg cow. When the Coburg cow is still there, that's okay, right? When Ruby's on the Facebook page, everything's okay.
Or what's that one when the Waffle House closed down? That's when you got
that. Then you're in a. You should have left. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Bill, we appreciate you coming by. Do you have any events you want to promote or anything you'd like to bring?
We are doing a lot of stuff with the Charleston County Schools. We're doing Ranky Tanky's going to open for us. Doing a thing on Saturday. You may be listening to this after the effect, but we're doing a thing at Credit One Saturday. We're doing a lot of different things. I do a lot of air shows, so I go out and I do air show announcing. Because now that I'm not doing the military, because I had to do that at least, once a month and whatever. But now I don't do as much with the air shows, but I do like about 7 or 8 air shows a year. So I'll be doing that. And I'll probably be doing the one coming up in May, first weekend of May in 26.
Are you doing the county fair this year?
I am. We'll do the county fair.
That's an institution.
That is an institution.
Love watching it on the news every year.
Yep.
Your daily reports or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's cool now is we used to have to be tied down to a live truck, and a cable. Now it's all wireless, so we can walk around the fair. I can go on the Typhoon, or whatever it's called, But it is fun to be able to go out and do those things, and the river dogs and these live shots, and So we'll be out there. We love going out and doing stuff like that and stuff like this with the podcast.
Excellent. We appreciate you coming on, DJ. You got any saved rounds?
No, I'm good. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, right on. Okay, for this week, this has been the Shrimp City Report. Again, Bill Walsh, we can't thank you enough for coming by. We're big fans, and we will see you on the television.
We'll see you on the podcast, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.